What is up, guys? Media Master Menard here today, bringing you guys another video. And as you can tell by the title, this is a Punisher Season 2 review. But first, before we talk about the actual Season 2 of The Punisher, I want to go into kind of the whole debacle of how Netflix has canceled all of its Marvel Universe TV shows. And the first thing I want to say about it, is what a shame. It really doesn't make sense to me. They were some of the most popular titles on Netflix. I can only assume that it cost a ton of money to make these TV series, or that Disney was kind of strong-arming them, telling them to you can let go of the series, we're going to take over from now, but I'm not really sure if that's the case. Disney says they don't really have any plans for the immediate future for all of these characters that have been built up, so I don't know if they're just waiting for a hard reset a couple of years from now, or they truly don't want to use these characters. I've also heard rumors of Hulu paying some money to pick up these shows, and I would really love that because, the universe they've built up is so unique and different in television. They're all related, but so subtly and not really right next to each other at the same time. And I like the street level hero aspect of it, how it's very nitty gritty and grounded in reality. In fact, I like them more than the Marvel movies. I've made a video about that in the past, how I really do love these TV shows. Sure, Iron Fist wasn't the greatest, but we got great shows like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and The Punisher, and Luke Cage was alright too. So people really like these shows and are really sad to see them go, so it really is just a shame that this has happened. And now that we've kind of talked about how I feel about Marvel canceling all these shows, let's talk about The Punisher Season 2 more specifically. And obviously there's going to be some spoilers for the first season of The Punisher. They're going to be unavoidable, but I'm going to do my best to try to stay away from them and not talk about specifics. And the events of this second season take place in the aftermath of the first season, not directly, but you do understand that the events of the second season take place because of the first season. And so we get to see Frank Castle and Dina Madani are both trying to recover from the effects of Billy Russo and his actions, and we get to see that Madani is having a really hard time moving on, and that she kind of wishes Billy was dead. And then we also get to see Billy trying to cope with having his face and life destroyed, which were some of his most precious values. He really valued how beautiful, quote-unquote, his face was. And then we get to see how he doesn't really have memories of the events that happened, and he has somewhat of amnesia, but it's really not clear if he's faking this amnesia or if it's true. And then also there's Frank, who is now Pete Castiglione, and he's living a quiet life, or at least he's trying to, when he's at a bar and a 16-year-old girl, and you really don't know her name because it's spoilers to mention it, so I'll just refer to her as Kid because that's what Frank calls her. So Frank runs into this 16-year-old girl at a bar and she's getting attacked, and he can't help himself, and he jumps in to save her and has to take lives, and he's kind of thrust back into his old way of living. In the process of trying to protect Kid from these hired guns, Frank runs into a man who is kind of a servant of God assassin, and he's hunting this lady, and we don't really know why at this point. But that's kind of where the story really picks up and kicks off, and it's a lot of three-way triangles between Billy and Dina and Frank, and then this servant of God assassin. And it's very, very interesting. I like the way they play off each other, but I'm not going to go any more into it because that would be spoiler territory. Although the story does take a few episodes to get going, like any other Marvel TV show does, once it does, it's extremely engrossing. And I think the moral gray area of Frank as a character and how he walks the line so closely is just so intriguing. And the way he interacts with other people is just so different. And when someone does go too far, who gets to decide who is punished, and is killing ever justified? And these are the questions that are really tackled by the show and by Frank, and you get to see him go through these things. When does he become a bad guy? Like I mentioned earlier, there is definitely a very interesting struggle in this show. Frank and Madani are kind of fighting a war on two fronts, and sometimes they are out of their depth, and I think seeing that really enhanced the plot of this show, because sometimes Frank seems like he's just too much of a super soldier and can do anything. He still can do a lot of things and still is a super soldier, but at least you get him in some different challenges this time around. And I think one thing that was incredible about this season, and definitely the best part about it, was seeing Frank in a father figure role again, as this has really been only shown in flashbacks so far. And seeing him care for Kid and have something he really wants to fight for makes the stakes all the higher. You get to see how she can soften him up at times, and maybe that Frank isn't the best at being a parent, and maybe he doesn't always know what to do. I like this because this is a side of Frank that we really haven't seen too much. And overall, I thought the pace was just great, and it felt like it was never too fast or too slow. It was just the right amount of stuff. But the first 3 episodes, like I mentioned earlier, were a little slow, but outside of that, it was really good. As far as the action is concerned, this is some of the best stuff on Netflix. The intense firefights and showdowns are way better directed than they were in the first season. I never really got disoriented once in a fight during this season, and they are just plain fun to watch. I know in the first season sometimes I'd be like, what is going on? There was too many quick cuts and I didn't really know what was happening. And I don't know much about military combat, but I do know the show enlisted the help of veterans to try to make this action more believable, and I believe it more. Same as the last season, I think the acting and casting is just superb. Obviously, Jon Bernthal is just synonymous with the Punisher now. I mean, he just lives that role, it feels like. He just does such a good job of portraying him and all his ins and outs. But I really thought Amber Rose Reva and Ben Barnes did a fantastic job of playing Madani and Billy Russo, respectively. I mean, the way they portrayed these characters slowly losing their sanity and peace of mind was very nice. I mean, we get to see Madani kind of struggle with coping with Billy Russo being back out and being a menace to society, and you get to see her slowly start to lose it, and how Billy consumes every one of her thoughts. And then we get to see Billy really go off the deep end as the season goes on, and they both do a really good job of the subtleties of this, where they're not just crazy like the Joker, but they just slowly edge more towards a realistic crazy, and it is just fantastic, and props to them for doing that. All in all, this was a great addition to the Marvel TV collection, and I think if you like Marvel or military movies that go past the surface level and kind of analyze the lasting impacts of service, this TV show really is for you. But I want to know what you guys think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe on TV and how it's ending. I want to know, what's your favorite Marvel TV show, and have you watched this season of The Punisher, and if you did you like it or did you not? Let me know the answer to all those questions down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be bringing you guys more movies, TV, video game, and anime content. I'm going to leave a link to my Twitter down in the description below so you can find out when I post a new video. And until then, this is Master Menard, signing off.
Now look at the top, I'm going crazy, who wearing the crown? Scoodly bop, doodly bolly, doodly down.